This is huge for the Phoenix Suns. The team is putting the finishing touches on the roster for the upcoming season. There is one spot remaining. Could it go to a player that they want to bring back, or could a new potential star come into the fold? We are going to break it down for all you Suns fans right here on Suns Digest. My name is CJ. Pierre, thanks for joining us. We have got a really good show for you guys. Before we get into it, we noticed that about 79% of you guys are watching our videos, and we appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, if you want to make sure you're keeping up to date with all of the latest Suns news, rumors, free agency speculation as we head into the upcoming season and into trading camp, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing that we're going to have cooking for you guys. But I just brought it up at the top of the show. There are two options for the Suns' final roster spot. That is the latest reporting that is kind of being speculated out there. We've tossed around a ton of names that we could see the Suns add in free agency, particularly in the veterans minimum market, due to the Suns' limitations being a second apron team. They've already made some key additions to the team. Now, just one spot remains. Let's take a look at the roster as it stands right now. Right now, you can see 16 names on the list that are signed to the team or soon to be signed to the team. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, the big three, as we've talked about. Yusuf Nurkic, the man in the middle. Talked about him being on the trading block, but it looks like now he is going to be with the team. Grayson Allen, who signed an extension before the end of last season. Royce O'Neal, who's going to resign. Nasir Little, who has been on the trading block. We're going to get back to him a little bit later. Bol signing to a one-year deal. David Roddy, who's a project. Ryan Dunn, the first-round pick. Mason Plumlee on a veteran minimum deal to be the backup big man. Damon Lee, who opted out of his player option and re-signed, which is something that we'll also talk about in a little bit. Monte Morris to be the point guard for the team, most likely in a backup role. He's also coming on a veteran minimum. Also, Iguodala, the second-round pick that the Suns signed to a 4-year deal that will sign him to the team, so he won't be on a two-way, which was shocking to me. That the fact that they didn't want to put him and make him the third two-way guy, which means there's still a two-way contract available. And then there's Jalen Bridges and Colin Gillespie, the guys who are signed to the two-way deals to the Suns. That is the Suns roster as it stands right now, which means there is one spot on the team, that 15th slot still remaining, which will likely go to a guy who comes in on a veteran minimum deal. And there is some reporting that the Suns are kind of honing in on who that person may be. It looks like they've got two options in mind. The reporting coming from John Gambadaro, Gambo, if you will. He says, by the way, total long shot here because of the vet min issue, but I would not doubt if they are still interested, the Suns being in Kyle Lowry. Can't rule that out yet. And yes, still working on Okogie. So those two names being Kyle Lowry and Josh Okogie. Those are names that we've tied to the Suns over the course of the entirety of the last month. They're interested in Kyle Lowry and bring him in at point guard. It looks like they still have some interest in him, despite the fact that they also signed Monte Morris. And then Josh Okogie declined his player option, opting to enter into free agency with the idea that there was a potential for him to re-sign with the Suns for a little bit more than the veteran minimum. We're going to break down those two options real quick here, and we are going to start with Kyle Lowry. Now, Kyle Lowry is a guy we've mentioned in videos several times over the course of the last few weeks. He is a true point guard, veteran presence, former NBA champion with the Toronto Raptors, and he has that experience that I believe would mesh really well with this Suns team. He spent last season kind of bouncing around. He was with the Miami Heat before he was traded to Charlotte, then bought out, and then signed with the Philadelphia 76ers for the remainder of their playoff run. But Kyle Lowry, as we know, is a solid hand. He's a good facilitator. He's pugnacious on the defensive end. He's actually a really good rebounder, despite the fact that he's undersized, and he is a good shooter. Take a look at his stats last season, even in limited minutes, averaging 8 points per game, 3.2 rebounds per game, 4.2 assists per game, shooting 39% from three-point range. But the thing that I like the most is that 45% on corner threes. At 6 feet tall, again, he's a little bit undersized, even at the point guard spot. But in new head coach Mike Budenholzer's offense, where he wants to spread things out and allow guys to jack up more shots from the perimeter, shoot more threes, Kyle Lowry could become a very, very important piece if the Suns decide to bring him in. If he's on the court with guys like Durant, Beal, and Booker, he's going to find himself with a lot of open shots, a lot of catch and shoot opportunities, which is things that he can do well. He's also a very clutch player. We haven't really talked much about his ability to hit big shots in big moments that happened on often occasions during the NBA Finals run he had with the Toronto Raptors when they ended up beating the Golden State Warriors, a team that Kevin Durant was on, despite the fact that that was the series where Kevin Durant would unfortunately tear his Achilles. But Kyle Lowry brings that leadership presence, that veteran presence to the team, and someone who can really just organize, keep things calm, keep things under control, which is something the Suns really lacked in the playoffs where they got swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The offense just at many times just seemed really stagnant with Booker and Beal being the primary ball handlers, times where guys just weren't even moving for 20 seconds at a time. And I don't think that's something that would happen with Kyle Lowry and also him being the point guard behind Coach Mike Budenholzer's offense. Now, how would Kyle Lowry fit with the addition of Monte Morris? How does that work out? I think it works out really well. I think Kyle Lowry and Monte Morris they're very different guards. Kyle Lowry operates a little bit more on the perimeter. Monte Morris a little bit more of a ball handler and operates in the mid range. He does have some catch and shoot ability as well, but Morris isn't as good of a shooter as Lowry is. I think if they were to sign Lowry, we could see them splitting a lot of time at the point guard spot. Could see them probably both coming off the bench, but also still finding times where they play together in spot minutes, but probably seeing Kyle Lowry be the primary option in terms of like late game, end of game scenarios, inbounding the ball if they have to get a quick shot off, that those kind of things. So that's the Kyle Lowry piece of this. Now let's get into the Josh Okogie piece of it. Josh Okogie on the Suns for the last couple of years, a solid defender, a really energizer bunny type, hustle play type, guarding the best player when it's asked of him. Josh Okogie is someone that Suns fans have gotten to know really well over the last couple of years, and I think that he could be an addition to this team and have an impact. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a logjam at his position. He plays the shooting guard, can play a little bit of the three at small forward as well, but there are a lot of guys on the Suns team that kind of occupy that similar space, if you will. We're talking Ryan Dunn, the rookie, the first round pick. We're talking Nasir Little. He kind of operates in that same vein. And then you have to think about just overall the rotation. Where does Okogie fit in? Even if they don't, if he's the one that they decide to bring in, are there a lot of minutes for him? That's kind of remains to be seen. But he can be someone that can provide you solid minutes, particularly on the defensive end. If we look at his offensive numbers, he averaged 4.6 points per game, only shooting 30% from 3-point range, and only 30% from corner threes. So again, he's not the offensive piece that the Suns might be looking for to make sure that they have on this team. But he is a solid defender. He's someone that has some chemistry with the other players on the team, and he's someone that I think that could contribute in spots, particularly if there's a situation where there are injury concerns. For the Suns, I think Okogie could be a viable hand in those positions. But kind of want to go back really quickly and let's talk really quickly about Nasir Little and the potential for what could happen with him. I mentioned Nasir Little could be someone that the Suns still look at trading, possibly dumping to another team in a salary cap move. Nasir Little makes $6.7 million this upcoming season. Could we see a scenario where they end up moving Nasir Little, getting off his contract, and they attempt to sign both Kyle Lowry and Josh Okogie, and they're in these last two roster spots? I think that is also a possibility, and I actually think that that one may become a little bit more likely depending on what Kyle Lowry does. Now, Kyle Lowry, we're talking veterans minimum here for the Suns, their second income team. That's basically all they can do. Kyle Lowry may be looking for more money elsewhere, and then the decision may be made for the Suns in that regard, and then they may just go after Josh Okogie, a person that they can offer a little bit more than the veterans minimum because Josh Okogie was recently on the Suns team. That's something that the second apron allows you to do. It helps you re-sign your own players as opposed to acquiring new players where you have a lot more limitations. So I think that there's a possibility that we see both Kyle Lowry and Josh Okogie on the Suns next season, depending upon what happens with Nasir Little. He seems to be really the only piece that's left on the Suns that could be moved. We've seen the reporting about Yusuf Nurkic and the likelihood that he's going to stay on the team, but we haven't seen that same level of commitment to a guy like Nasir Little. We've heard that the Suns want to re-sign Okogie, or that they're at least interested in re-signing Okogie. Haven't really talked about Nasir Little and his place on the team, whether or not he's guaranteed a spot, whether or not he's someone that they're factoring into the rotation. I haven't heard anything about that. If I missed something, guys, let me know in the comments. But I think there's a chance that Nasir Little gets moved, and the Suns bring in both Kyle Lowry and Josh Okogie, with both of their additions just being on this team, guys who have been around the block, been around the league for a while. I think that would be a great fit for what the Suns are trying to do heading into the 2024-2025 season. But that's just what I think. As I mentioned, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We are going to be jam-packed over the next couple of weeks as we look at what the team ends up looking like. We hopefully get some news on what the G League team is going to look like, the Valley Suns, and see what that roster ends up looking like. We're going to have all of that for you guys as soon as that news breaks. If you want to make sure you're not missing a single thing, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're keeping up with everything me and my buddy Bruce have got cooking for you here on Suns Digest. That is all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate all the love and the support. It's going to be a fun ride as we head into next season. We can't wait to get going. That's all I got for you guys. My name is CJ Pierre, and go Phoenix Suns.